We have a special guest today. Let her introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Susan Haynes. I'm a dietitian. Some of you I just saw earlier. I'm at Princess Margaret, and I'm here standing in for Christy Brissett.
Yes. So to jump into it, I'm going to introduce the main star of the show today, which is our ingredients, our vegetables. So those who don't know, we actually have our own garden that is completely volunteer run with participants from ELLICSR Kitchen class with UHN staff, and we grow them from seed, and I just harvested these yesterday. So we're going to be using our very own zucchini, our very own radishes, our very own herbs in today's class.
Great.
So you're not going to get any fresher than this, and it has, it's got a nice little closeness to it because we had a part in it. So we're going to get right into it. We're going to make our first recipe using. This is one of the unsung heroes, I think, of the vegetable world. Does everyone know what this is? Yell it out if you know. Radish, yes. This is a different type of radish. This is like an icicle radish. Typically, you'd find them in the grocery store, a little more like on the round side. But these are fantastic. They're delicious. I think a lot of people don't know how to use them. We find them in like salads.
I know them for crunch. That's what most people use them for, right?
Beautiful
Add crunch to a salad?
Yeah, beautiful crunch. They have a little bit of a heat to it as well. They're actually part of the mustard family. So mustard seed, mustard greens. If you ever had them, it has a little bit of that heat to it. So that's why you get that heat to the radish. But they're fantastic. Really, really nice ingredient to use. So they're going to be the star of this dish. Now, a couple things. Here, we'll get these radishes here. A couple things to keep in mind. I mean, there's a resource that we put together on the back in terms of food safety, and you can go through it after. We're going to touch a little bit on it today. But there's 4 main pillars plus a couple other ones added to it that you should always keep in mind when cooking food, regardless if you're eating indoors or outdoors. And the first 2 that we'll touch on are clean and separate.
Excellent.
So clean, it seems pretty straightforward. Washing your hands. What else?
Anybody? Anyone from the audience?
Counter, knife,
Yes.
utensils. You want to make sure that everything is sanitized and clean before you use it. So the recommendation is 20 seconds. We're looking at hot, soapy, warm water when you're washing your hands.
What I like to do is sing the happy birthday
Happy
song,
birthday song, that's a
right?
very
And that
common
gives you
one.
about the right amount of time for hand washing.
Absolutely. Your dishwasher as well heats up to a very, very hot temperature that sanitizes your dishes and your utensils, and so use it if you have it, which is great. Otherwise, for your utensils, use hot water and soap as well. Cross-contamination is another thing, so that's where separate comes in. Now, for this recipe, we're using just vegetables, but if you use any animal products, so chicken, meat, what are other animal products that we might not consider? Yeah, fish,
Absolutely.
eggs, cheese, these types of things. You always want to make sure that any surface, any tools that you use to prepare these ingredients, that you sanitize in between. Even better, try to get a separate cutting board
Yes.
for your animal products and try to use one for your raw vegetables, fruit, anything of that nature. That way you can make sure that you're not contaminating the surface area there.
Yeah, I think that's one of the easiest things to do is to have 2 separate cutting boards, and then you don't have to worry so much. You're doing any raw meats are not going to ever touch your vegetables that are not going to be cooked.
So for this recipe, the radish is the star. We have 2 main ingredients here. The radish is going to give us the crunch. Now you can slice it up with a knife. If you want really thin slices, they have some great tools out there. You can just use actually a vegetable peeler. Actually, I'll show you. A vegetable peeler, a good one. I broke all my good ones, so this might not be a good example. But one of those regular vegetable peelers, you just peel the radish, see how you get these really, really nice thin slivers. So that's like a really easy way to do that. This is a fantastic tool as well. Does anyone know what this one's called? Mandolin. Got it. Mandolin. This is an awesome tool. You can get very, very thin shavings. It has a very sharp blade on it, so be careful when you're using the mandolin. there is a guard. They add this guard for a reason. It even says on the guard, finger guard, watch your fingers. It says it in English and I think Mandarin or Cantonese. It's there for a reason. Watch your fingers, use the guard. So radish goes on top. You put the guard on and you just run it through the mandolin. And these are like 30 bucks, 40 bucks, you can get them now. And you get these beautiful thin slices. Fantastic. So that's going to go.
And my method is to watch Jeremy do it.
There you
That
go.
way my fingers are safe.
Yes. Have somebody in the kitchen that you can use for that. So we have our radishes here. And we're going to do a really nice refreshing dressing. Ooh. And Susan, I'll actually get you to put this together.
Oh, I've got a job.
You have a job.
All
absolutely.
right.
Now I'm making it in a mason jar. This is great. I do salad dressings in a mason jar even when I'm in the kitchen, just because any leftovers, keep it in the jar, store in the fridge. It's a great way to shake your dressing. It's also great to pack. So if you are doing a picnic, you can pack all your dry, some unseasoned, undressed vegetables in one zip bag, and then you bring your dressing in a sealed jar. That way it's not making a mess everywhere, and that way it doesn't get soggy if you have a long trip. So to go, so for this dressing, we're going to use our first ingredient. Susan, I heard it.
I heard it too,
you
thank
said it.
goodness.
Lemongrass. Beautiful, fantastic. It has a really nice, refreshing lemon flavor, almost like a lemon balm sort of aroma to it. So we're just going to roughly chop it up. Now this isn't really edible in its raw state. You'll be chewing on this for a while. So we're just going to use it for its flavor. We're kind of going to muddle it in the jar.
Oh.
And then strain it out.
Jeremy,
Yes.
hammer it before you cut it?
You can, if I'm adding the whole thing to like a soup or to a stew, yeah, if you use like the back of the knife and you hammer it like that, you'll get a beautiful aroma. We're actually going to get that same action in the jar by muddling it with the spoon. So bruising it, whether it's before, whether it's after, absolutely, that's going to really get those juices out. Yeah.
And even just sliced, you can really smell it.
You can definitely smell it. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So the lemongrass is going to go into the jar, and this is a muddling tool, but you can even use like the bottom of a wooden spoon, anything like that.
Do I get
And
to
Susan,
do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Crush that up. Start crushing it up. We're going to use an acid, so you can use any sort of acid, like a vinegar. I like citrus. Citrus in the summer, really nice, refreshing for dressings. So we're going to use lime juice. Juice of 1 lime, or about 2 tablespoons. Some limes that you buy are lemons. Does that make sense? Like it's not a good lime? I know that was going to be confusing.
I was wondering where you were going with that.
Yeah. You hear the crickets, you know, to move on from that. Okay, so lime juice, we're going to have about 2 tablespoons, and you can keep muddling as I add these ingredients in there.
I can tell there's going to be a lot of muddling required.
Yes. Now you can muddle a little bit, you can muddle a lot. I know Susan is prepped for muddling today, so we're going to get her going.
You know, when you've got these muscles, you've got to put them to use, right?
This is optional. We're going to add a little bit of a red Thai chili. If you don't like the heat, absolutely you don't have to add it at all. If you want a little bit of heat, use a little bit of the chili without the seeds. That's always a good choice. The seeds and sort of that white veins where you get most of the heat. If you do want that heat, you do want to make it spicy, add a few of those seeds in there as well. So I'm just going to add a little bit at the end.
Now, what's that like once it's on your fingers? You have to be careful not to touch your face, right?
That is actually a very good tip. Yes, wash your hands immediately after. Do not touch anything. It will.
Still muddling.
Yeah. And it's also on the cutting board too, so you got to remember that as well. We're gonna add one of my favorite summer herbs. This is fresh mint as well, and you can add any herbs to this as well. Cilantro pairs nicely with this, but I know we have a lot of cilantro haters probably in the crowd.
No.
Make some noise. Make some noise if you hate cilantro. Yeah. I love cilantro.
So I'm going to make a plug for growing herbs. If you're like me and you live in a little condo and your balcony's this big, that's something you can grow in a pot. You can grow mint.
Everything, yeah.
I've got basil growing, or basil, depending on what you want to call them. My little plant.
Yeah, absolutely.
Parsley.
It's actually a great idea. Susan mentioned it's a great idea to grow herbs in a plant. Some herbs, like mint, if you plant it in a garden, not in a pot, it will completely take over your garden like a weed.
Yeah.
So great suggestion. Put it in a little pot and a little sun and water and you're good to go. So that's fantastic. We're gonna add, oh, I have the oil here. We're at about 2. Absolutely. So we have a radish. Pick any sort of lettuce, green, cabbage, anything you like. We have this beautiful radicchio here. Has a really nice wild color. So I'm just gonna roughly chop that up. And then when I'm ready to plate, you take it out of your Ziploc bag if you're at your picnic or camping. Sort of get your greens down there. And then you can put all your lettuce or all your radish shavings on top. And it's like really 2 main ingredients for the salad, but it's refreshing, it's crisp. It's cooling. It has a actually really nice cooling effect too. Doesn't mean you can forego the sunscreen though. All right.
And
So that's it. So that's our salad.
it looks beautiful.
We'll get this dressing. Thank you, Susan. Looks fantastic.
Sure.
Now remember that the pieces of the lemongrass are still in there. So I'm just going to use the lid to sort of trap, and I'm just going to dress it on top, just very lightly. I don't need too much dressing. I don't like a soggy salad with a lemongrass dressing.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Susan.